Cadence Weapon is a hip-hop artist who originally hails from Edmonton, Alberta. Born Roland Pemberton, Cadence Weapon currently lives in Toronto, though his heart remains in Montreal, which he called home for quite a while until just recently. 5 years since releasing his last album, Hope in Dirt City, Cadence Weapon is back and at the peak of his considerable power on his new album. It's self-titled and out via E1 Music. So Rolly and I spent some time together talking about his life and work and how all of it is reflected in his newfound artistic approach. Part of the Entertainment One podcast network and sponsored by Pizza Trocadero, The Bookshelf, Planet Bean Coffee, and Granddad's Donuts. This is the 375th episode of Creative Control featuring Cadence Weapon with your host, me, Vish Khanna. Rolly, thank you for being on the show.
Thanks for having me.
It's been, 4 or 5 years since we've talked on the record?
Yeah, I would say so.
Where have you been? People are wondering, where have you been in 5 years?
It's just, I was on a desert island somewhere. I just listened to the same 5 albums.
What were the 5 albums? Those desert island disc questions are hard.
Yeah, I wasn't doing that.
You weren't doing that.
No.
Okay. We won't go, that's too personal, I think, if we delve into that. No, but it's been, public creators, when they take a little absence or work on their next record, people get whatever concerned, But it's very common. In a nutshell, you've moved a couple times.
Yeah.
How many times have you moved?
I moved from Edmonton to Montreal, and then since then I moved from Montreal to Toronto. That was about 2.5 years ago.
Yeah, you're in Toronto now.
I'm in Toronto now, and all this new album I totally did primarily in Toronto.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it's only been in the more recent half. Although, I don't know, it's the weird thing about when you create things and the things don't come out. Yes. People don't know that you're making stuff the whole time. So I would say since my last album came out in 2012, I've probably made over 100 songs.
Really?
Okay. Yeah.
100?
Yeah, sure.
There's 12 on this record.
Yeah, there's 12.
But you put out a single in March, right?
Yeah.
Connor McDavid.
Yeah.
And probably other stuff that I missed.
Not really, though. A couple songs here and there.
Songs.
But, no, these are the 12 best ones, though. They're my 12 favorites.
So in the director's cut of this record, we'll get the other 88 songs at some point, maybe.
Yeah. There's still more heat, too.
There's more heat.
But I don't know.
I have to say, when this record gets going, it feels like I'm listening to a guy who's pent up, ready. You're all in. You're just in. Mm-hmm. The rapping is phenomenal on this record, and
Thank you.
I think it's fantastic.
Yeah.
I don't think you get enough credit for that stuff, and it just seems like. And I think as we go, we're going to talk about the whole record. I think I'm sensing a stylistic, tonal mood shift here that I wasn't expecting.
Yeah, I feel like that's why I called it just Cadence Weapon, because I feel like it's the distillation of who I am.
Yeah.
The intersection of rap and electronic music, which you hear on this album. That's my wheelhouse. That's my vibe. And I feel like I really have a much better understanding of that and myself.
Yeah.
And I feel like that's, I focus so much on the rapping. I really wanted to. I felt like I had something to prove.
Yeah.
Because I've been around for a while and maybe I haven't been as active as, other people have. But I feel like I never really got the kind of recognition for rapping that I think that I believe that I deserve. So I think that really pushed me to go harder.
Why do you suppose that is? Some Canadian artists suffer a Canadian phenomenon of not being appreciated in their own country. Maybe they get lauded elsewhere. You had an international record deal at one point.
Yeah.
You had a homegrown label deal at one point. You had a lot of press, cover of Exclaim, lots of stuff that you got. Players Music Prize nomination. It felt like you got a fair amount of recognition.
Yeah, but it's not from the rap people that I want. It's I felt like maybe the way that I was presented was really not super reflective of who I am initially. I feel like there's this kind of like, oh, this is like bedroom rap, or it's like this like lo-fi like weird rap or something. And I never really thought of myself as being like that weird. Like in my mind, I'm competing with like all the mainstream rappers, and I think I can like rap in the same room as these people.
Yeah.
You know, but for some reason other people don't feel that way. And maybe it's like partly my fault in the way that I made the old music. Like my old albums, like I'll admit, like some of the ways of rapping, like I got songs that are like more like spoken word, like stuff that's not rhyming, like kind of weird structures of songs, like using all these like live instruments in a weird way that like doesn't sound like rap at all. Like I can see how it doesn't read as like super. I think I'm a technical rapper. Or
You
something.
are, yeah, absolutely.
I really believe that I am, but like I don't know. For some reason, also I've had trouble with people like taking me seriously.
Yeah.
I don't know what it is, or like they think I'm being like sarcastic, or it's like irony or something. And
Yeah,
I mean that figures into some of my lyrics, but it's like that's as a songwriter.
You're clever.
You're
a clever, witty guy, and I think you did tap into, for lack of a better term, like I mean maybe this is my perspective, but you tapped into like indie rock a little bit. Like you knew what was going on in the country when you emerged. What was it, 2005?
2005, yeah.
Yeah, and I think at that point there was an indie rock boom. That was the circuit. And
that was just like the scene I came from.
Yes, that's right, from Edmonton.
In Edmonton, like all my friends were in like indie rock bands and electronic bands, and like I didn't really super resonate with the rap scene there.
But that was the beauty of hip hop for me, was that it was one of the most open-ended generic signifiers, if you will. Like I just thought hip hop, what appealed to me beyond the politics of it was the freedom. It just felt like you could do anything in it, and you, I thought, were a great exemplification of that.
That's how I always saw it.
Yeah.
You know, I never saw it as like, oh, like you got to keep all the crunk over here, and you got to keep the underground in another room, and traps over here, and like the rap over electronic music's got to be somewhere else. Like this is all a part of a continuum.
Yes.
You know, and this is what I think rap is the most beautiful music in the world, because it can subsume all other genres within itself. It's like that one Pokemon that takes the powers from other people, or Rogue from X-Men.
Okay, I don't know these things.
Like when she touches you, she gets your power.
Right. This is now starting to remind me of my interview with Harrison, who you worked with, where he was just talking about stuff, and I'm like, it's maybe a generational thing. I think of myself as a nerd, but nerd people are. There's certain nerd people where they nerd out about things that I don't nerd out about, and so there's like not a galvanization of our nerddom.
It's a different nerd era.
It is.
Maybe.
So like I don't know. My son was just asking about Pokemon this week, and I was like, I don't know what to tell you. He's like, he really wants Pokemon Go.
Oh yeah.
That's the one with the phones.
Yeah, that's the one with the phones, and you're like flicking.
And people get
with the
hurt.
phone.
Yeah.
I don't know if people get hurt.
Well, they get distracted and they're looking at their phone for like a fake virtual Pokemon, right?
Yeah, but I mean, you can turn that off where it's like in the world.
Okay, I don't want them doing that stuff. Anyway, this is just I think I understand what you're saying. I think that all cultural, realms have outliers who do things unconventionally, and I think maybe that's what happened with you. Because you were like, okay, you get embraced. I think you got embraced by that indie rock world.
Yeah.
That can alienate some rap purists.
Totally.
You were the poet laureate of your city, Edmonton. There's just some things that happen to you where the other thing is, I think people like to champion people that are on the come up, and maybe some people thought he's good.
Like like I've become. It's weird. Like in regards to like press and like notoriety and stuff, I could be considered like an establishment figure.
Yes.
Like I was nominated for Polaris like alongside like Broken Social Scene and stuff. You know.
Yeah.
So people associate me and think I'm like maybe like even like the same age as people who were in bands at the same time.
Yes.
But I was like 19.
Yes.
You know, so I really feel like I'm just getting started now.
Yeah, totally. And I mean, it comes through on this record. There's so much hunger and I think rage, and also like you say, like I think you're trying to prove yourself to people. And we'll get into this. I want to begin by talking about the beautiful album artwork, which people who are listening obviously can't see the cover right now. Maybe they can look online and look at my my website and all that stuff, because I'll post the cover there. But it's essentially like a comic book kind of creation, right?
Yeah, like Adam Waito and we are really old friends. Like we met in Montreal, and he lives in Toronto now. And I gave him basically the vision I have for the album cover. You know, like the one thing I didn't want to do was just like a photo of me like in front of like a graffiti wall or something, like something, you know, I didn't want it to look just like the way a lot of covers look today. So I really wanted to tap into kind of like we saw it as like an 80s comic book vibe,
Right,
like an
right.
80s alternative comic style. And for me, I wanted to like throw back to all like the Funkadelic records that I grew up around, and like all the old like reggae records that were like all animations. And I think he really tapped into that. Like I wanted to have like little kind of Easter eggs and like old rap jokes. Put a couple of my friends in there, like Jacques Green and his girlfriend Sophie there on the cover, and like
Right.
there's like little like callbacks to things in the album.
Right.
Like I want to bring it back. I want someone to be like really stoned and look at the vinyl cover and be like, whoa, because that's like what. When I was a kid, I used to just pore over like all the liner notes and all the like. I was obsessed. Like I would look at the publishing names
Absolutely.
of
Liner
all
notes,
the producers and stuff. And
you
like,
learn so much from liner notes.
I love that. I love
Yeah.
like seeing what they want to name their publishing company. Like
Yeah.
I all the way down to that. Like I loved everything about the whole package.
Yes.
So I wanted to make something that was like a really tangible, like very beautiful, like fun thing to look at. Like an object that stands alone, whether it's music or not.
Right. And Adam, so you gave him some direction in terms of what to conjure.
Yeah, and he had his own like reference points too that he brought to it. Like he was referencing, like an album I don't really know that well, like Dookie, the cover.
Oh, the
for,
Green Day. Oh,
for
yeah.
Green Day.
Yes, that's right.
And like all the references in that, and I was like, okay, yeah, let's flex on that.
Yeah. There's a few that come to mind for me as well. Okay, so that's fascinating. All right, well, it's beautiful. It's a lovely cover. And Adam's a musician. I know Adam he had a band called Adam and the Amethyst.
Yes, that's right.
Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And he's like really well known as an artist in Montreal. Like
okay.
every poster that you see, he's designed basically.
Oh,
like,
I didn't know that.
All Blue Skies Turn Black posters in Montreal.
promotion company.
He's the guy.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. That's great. Well, and I like this. It feels like you're really trying to reestablish yourself, which is it's a nice thing to see. I feel like you're like hungry to prove something, and it comes through in every aspect of the record. I want to begin talking about the record with the very first song, "Own This,"
Yeah.
produced by Gibbs.
It's 7 on the upside of 8. We're still in the motion, right here with the Black Experience in sound. And let it be known right now, E-Town, the first lady in my life, brought forth the magic and the continuation of T-E-D-D-Y. On the junior side, that's right, if I don't get you, my son will.
It's Duke Wildhead in the building right now. I got my afro pick stuck in my ear right now. I think I'm Huey in this bitch. Yeah. All to the beat though, 1, 2, run through like I didn't want to hear 3 go. All for my people, working in the back, waiting for the bus to the depot. Sipping on vino, Pinot Grigio, staying low key, that's how we roll. Tougher than Debo, on the block, hotter than Beats, Puerto Rico. One life to live like Sibo, wanna stay dipped in Moschino. Might see a nigga on Vivo, might hear the G-Flow on. Rinse FM, getting reloads. Rock for the Cino, speak like a keynote. Know I got queens of the East Coast. Freaks in the West, freak come dressed, talk dirty, but I always rock clean clothes. Living off rap, whole team giving me dab like I just shot a free throw. So much cash in my crib like I live in BMO. Got a young nigga going beast mode. Old school like Game Genie, winning with a shit, but I didn't use a cheat code. Cheap ass running for the repo, man, damn, just got your Jeep towed. All those comments, delete those. Don't give a fuck what you seen, bro. Don't give a fuck what you tweet, bro. Not really rushing to see, I got stuff to complete, so hold up. Got so much dough, won't fold up. Did it with my team. No one control us, no one can hold us. I'm old as a scold us. Shine like we're coated in gold dust. You know what? Yeah, I own this. And like always, you know I'm on my own shit. Got my own team and we write our own hits. Need my own AP on my own wrist. Trying to raise my salary, give my family what they need. No time to sleep, I ain't out here counting sheep. Money coming slow, gotta bring it up to speed. I'ma be my own man, won't let nobody own me. Okay, so at the very beginning of this song, it's a sample of my father.
I wondered if that was actually your dad.
Yeah, it's my dad on the radio, and it's from right when I was born, basically, like the day after I was born. And he went on the radio and was just like, yeah, like, basically saying, like, you know, if I don't get you, my son will. Yeah. I was like, okay, I gotta, like, this album, I consider it to be, like, almost like a rebirth for me.
Yeah.
And so it's like, I thought that was the perfect way to start it off.
Now, why would your dad have had the occasion or the access to be on the radio?
Oh, well, my dad was a radio host.
Okay, there
yeah,
you go.
at CJSR in Edmonton. like 20 years.
And that's like a community
College radio.
Station. Okay.
Yeah, but he was kind of like a radio, like hip hop radio pioneer. He was like the first person to play rap in Edmonton.
Right.
You know, and like so many people from like that community, they always, whenever I see them when I'm back home, like always give me props and stuff. And it's like, yeah, I used to listen to your dad all the time. Like he was kind of like a notable figure, you know, in Edmonton around that time.
Yeah, well, I figured that was him, but I also was like, what are the odds that he has a sample of his own father saying that? But
I just like found that relatively recently.
Oh.
My mom had a bunch of tapes from his shows, and I was like, whoa, why didn't you ever tell me about this?
What kind of tapes?
Like cassettes.
Oh, like actual cassette tapes.
Like that
Okay.
that she had taped off the radio like in the 80s.
Oh, yeah, you're a young guy, so your dad would have said this in like the 80s sometime.
Yeah. And so I got them digitized.
Oh, sweet.
And I couldn't believe when that came up.
That's
I was like,
it's
oh
incredible.
my
It's
God.
an incredible sample. And then the music is produced by Gibbs. Who is Gibbs?
Gibbs is a guy from Oshawa.
Really?
That I met through a guy named Ricardo Chung, who manages a bunch of artists and stuff, and he was working with E1, and he was sending me a lot of beats from like all kinds of different producers, and I noticed the beats from this one guy Gibbs, and they were like very like off kilter, like strange music, and I really resonated with it. And I was like, I want to work with this guy. And it started with him just like sending me beats, and then we like started getting together and like producing stuff together, and like we recorded maybe like 20 songs. I mean, we recorded like on
You
like
and Gibbs?
a
Wow.
whole album together essentially. He was like really one of the guys who like when I started this project, that really got me like hyped into like recording and getting like a rhythm with the music.
Well, it's a weird beat. Like it kind of comes in and out. It's kind of skittery and it's strange.
Yeah, it's funny because it wasn't one of the ones that we really like consciously were like, we're going to make this song together.
Yeah.
Like it was after we were doing a recording session for something else, and I was in his car and he was like driving me home, and he's like, obviously his producer, so he just like listens to his own music all the time in the car.
Yeah.
And a random beat came on, and I was just like, whoa, what is this? He's like, yeah, no, I made this. It's like, whoa, you're holding out on me, man. You know, this is right up my alley. I could rap to this right now. And I recorded a demo of it like the next day. Like I was like ready. Like when I hear a beat I really like, it doesn't take me very long to make a song.
Now, are you someone who actually writes out your lyrics, or do you try to go off the top of your head a bit?
I mean, my process is like, it'll usually be like kind of fragmented, where I'll come up with the flows. Lately, I've been coming up with the flows first.
Okay.
So like I'll like figure out how I'm gonna rap it and record that in notes on my phone.
Yeah.
And then like I'll like fit in the words. Like I'll make notes of lyrics on my phone, and like I love like snatching little like ideas from like day-to-day things, and like things will pop in my head. But yeah, I generally write it all.
Okay.
But it is like kind of a fragmentary process.
Yeah. You were saying you work on the flow, which for people who don't know is kind of like the cadence.
Yeah,
if
the
you will.
cadence, or like whatever rhythms for each section that I'm going to do. That was like a big thing on this album for me, is that like I wanted to like come up with some new flows that like people had never heard before.
It's astonishing, honestly. Like, I mean, as you know, I've been following you for a long time in your work, and like I know you're capable of this. I've heard you do it from time to time, but your flow on Own This is, I mean, you say it's a rebirth. This is one of the hungriest things I've ever heard you do. You're just, it's amazing. Now, talk about this theme of Own This thematic flourish. What did you want to convey there?
Well, for me, this song is really about like self-reliance.
Yes.
You know, and really, you know, I'm getting organized with like my business side of music, because in the past, like I've had like some issues with old label people and like old management who are like maybe not looking out for my best interests, you know? And I feel like this is my way of being like, never again. You know?
So how has that manifested itself? Because you often, also on this record, as we'll discuss, I think, talk about your team, your crew. Mm-hmm. This is a new team or a new crew. Like, so I hear a lot of like, I'm doing this now. Yeah. I'm in charge. Look out. I'm ready to go. But also allusions to your squad.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, it's a village, right?
No, I know that.
Yeah.
So this is a new village?
Yeah, it's new people. It's new label. It's new booking agents. New everything. But it's also like referring to my friends and people who've given me advice. And I feel like a lot of people steered me along the way to get to where I am now, to have finished this album. Helped guide me spiritually.
Yeah.
You know, and I feel like that's very important in my work. You know, because usually my music is a reflection of where I am at that time.
Yeah.
And like is really affected by my mood. I felt like my last album, Hope in Dirt City, I was in a very like negative space of mind. Like I was like kind of like sad, and
Your rapping was downcast on that record.
yeah,
if I
yeah,
might
and it was
say.
more introspective
Yeah.
and more like
Yeah.
spoken words to the point. I felt like sometimes I would go so far into like doing this like rhythmless, like structureless rap style that people would be like, this guy doesn't know how to rap.
But that's
And not
fascinating.
because, well, like your average person, they just listen to something. They don't think about like the context before, what I did before, who I am.
Right.
Like they don't care about
Right.
that. They just hear about what they hear with their ears.
I guess every song or every guest spot, every feature is a first impression for someone potentially,
Exactly.
and if that's it, that's it. So yeah,
Exactly.
I think I was listening to Breaking Kayfabe. I was listening to Hope in Dirt City in preparation for this. Those two in particular, and because I just wondered where this. As a fan of yours, I kind of was blown away by this new record, and I almost was like, where did this come from?
Mm-hmm.
There must be some lineage, and they're almost like when I hear "Own This" and a few of these other songs that we're going to talk about.
Like where did that come from?
It's
Well,
not. It's like a new cadence.
It's a new
Weapon.
flow. It's a new style.
Yeah.
And I feel like part of it is I used to rap like this live.
Yes.
This is something that like maybe not a lot of people know, but like I was like toying with this double time like fast rap style, and it was my shows were like getting really frenetic and really hype, but I couldn't really figure out how to like record it or get that energy in the studio. And then I kind of like went different directions. I wanted to have a band. I wanted to like focus on other things.
Yeah.
But then I started thinking back. It was like, man, I used to be like just killer live, and if I can get that down on record, I feel like this is like really like who I am.
Yeah.
Like that kind of style, like
Yeah.
the fast flows, is the essence of my music.
But I think also there's control here. Like it is more frenetic and on one level, but like you would like when I think of a song like Conditioning,
yeah.
there's just a section where you're screaming.
Yeah.
Which I also thought is a reflection of your live show because you would get there was a punk rock aspect to your show.
Definitely.
And then this one is more about I think rap technique.
Yeah,
a little
technique, the rhythm of it,
Yeah.
and like just on a technical level, showing people that I can like not only play within the rules, but also like go as far as possible within the structures of what rap is considered to be.
Yeah, emancipated and damn they hate it.
Yes.
It seems like that speaks to a few different things going on in your life.
Yes. It's all about personal freedom. That's so important to me lately. Like in the last few years, I think it's something that I had to figure out for myself.
Yeah.
My times in Montreal, like, I had trouble like recording. I didn't have like the proper infrastructure sometimes to like really even record myself, or I was very unfocused as a person at that time too. Like I came out with Hope in Dirt City in 2012, and then like in the years after that, like I was recording demos with like my friend Phil Carneef in a giant loft space that was just like people would be doing an after party until like 8 a.m. And then I'd come back the next day and like record in the same like party space with like a bunch of beer cans and shit everywhere.
Yeah.
Like it was just kind of like not a super like professional feeling. And I feel like the music I was making at that time reflected that.
Yeah.
So it took me a long time to really get focused again. And I think obviously I attribute that to moving to Toronto, but I also attribute that to kind of being more thoughtful about like who I keep around me and who working with more people and collaborating and like bouncing ideas off of people, because I consider now my old music to be very solitary. Like it's very introspective. Like no one else is really involved. I write all the songs, I produce all the beats usually. Yeah. Some of it I just recorded it myself. So
right, I see. Okay, well I think we're going to talk about Montreal more as the record goes on. I'm thinking of Five Roses in particular and some other songs. But anyway, let's move on to the second song on the record. This is Destination.
When some people see my face, all they see is race. Look at me with distaste and they make haste. Black Ace can't be replaced. When I first hit the frame, I looked out of place. Now I'm back with some new bass, trying to do some new things in a new space. I write pictures that you can't trace to imitate 4K in a soundstage. You niggas tripping like a suitcase. If you think you can rip it like how I did it, I'm different. You need to switch your position. I'm on a new wave. Like I played in your rhythm. Trying to take sweet dreams, bring them into fruition. Trying to take enemies, put them into submission. If you got equity, we could go into business. We ain't really gotta speak, I just want you to listen.
Can you let me free? I just wanna be where I'm meant to be. Trying to find my way to my destination.
mentioned Harrison earlier, and he is credited as a producer. But who's got the hook?
That is Angel Diridorian.
Dear Dorian.
Yeah.
Who is Angel Dear Dorian?
Angel Diridorian is a musician. She's based in New York, and she used to be in the group Dirty Projectors.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, she was one of the singers from that group.
Oh, okay,
And,
okay.
she's been sampled by the Roots, and like I always tell her, like rappers love her.
Yeah.
You know, like there's a certain quality of her voice, and just like she's just an amazing creative artist. Like I
Okay.
really admire her a lot, and we linked up and became friends during Red Bull Music Academy in Montreal.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
I was there hosting lectures. You know, like I interviewed Mike Will Made It
Mm-hmm.
and Alex Toomey. And she was a part of like the production team, helping people like record tracks and giving people advice.
Yeah.
And yeah, we became really good friends there, and like just stayed in touch. And I was just like, I need to have you on this album.
Nice.
You know? And it came together.
How did you connect with Harrison?
Harrison's a guy like I've always had in the periphery of my mind, like especially since I moved here. Like it's just like I kept seeing him around, and I was just like, man, I got to get a beat from you. You know, like he's one of the guys. Like I feel like the thing about this album is some of the people that I work with, like him and Kate Tronada in particular.
Yeah.
They remind me a lot of me when I was younger.
Yeah.
When I was like first making beats and stuff, like they have that kind of like wild spirit of just experimentation.
And
that
I think
had.
a weird, like, it's weird, but underlying pop sensibility in
Yeah.
particular. Like, that's when I listen to Harrison, I'm like, oh, he's a pop smith. Like,
Yeah.
I know when I talked to him, he kind of described how he's just sort of making everything up as he goes along and just gotten better and better and better at it. But there's a real pop thing there, and it comes through in this song.
I think when he is older, he's going to be absolutely incredible.
Yeah.
He's going to be like Stevie Wonder or something
Yeah.
by the time he's like 30.
Yeah, because he's teaching himself how to play instruments and stuff. And yeah, it's an amazing song. In terms of the lyrical content, is there anything you want to... Again, great, fantastic rapping. I noticed something.
Yeah.
And I don't know if... one of the reasons I went back to the old records is because I wanted to verify this, and I think I'm accurate here.
Yeah.
I've never heard you use the N-word before.
Yeah.
Is that right?
That's possible, yeah.
I mean, you might have here and there, but like... And I can't say it.
Not as much as on this album.
It's all over this record.
Yeah,
And I mean, the first lyrics on this song, Destination, when some people see my face, all they see is race. Look at me with this taste, and then they make haste. There's a lot of, and I don't know if it's all personal, there's a lot of like anecdotal lyrics about racism.
Yeah.
And encounters between people who, that tension, that awkwardness. But obviously, we're living in a time where these kinds of issues are a little bit more out in the open. These sorts of conversations are happening more. Can you talk about what has informed your decision to incorporate this word?
Yeah, I mean, I feel like in my previous work, like I felt reluctant to express that side of my life, or really even talk about the racial stuff, or I kind of was more focused on like, let's just make some crazy music, whatever. But I don't know, over the years as I get older, like I feel like I have a better knowledge of self, and I think a lot more about myself as a racialized person. And I felt like it wouldn't be a good reflection of the album if I didn't like, rap kind of more like how I actually talk, or or about the things that I want to talk about, and it's like, I don't know, I feel like it's, to me, there's like a lot of power behind that word, and I think it can. I feel like there's just so much to navigate with it, because I feel like there's so many people who use it in a different way. Like it's like we're trying to take it back, or we're trying to like switch the power over.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, sometimes it's like when that first line that you mentioned on the album, like on that song, it really is like about how I'm perceived. And people say they try to act like Canada's different, than the States.
Yeah.
But it's like it's actually worse because it's a little more it's under the radar. It's like in the fabric of everything.
It's
like
that under the radar thing, I think, is changing. I mean, because
we know people are talking about it more,
and racists are being more outspoken about being racist.
Yeah,
that's a big thing.
That is true. They feel as if we're in a time where they don't have to hide it anymore.
Yeah, which some have argued is actually somehow good, because at least in this time of lies and fake news and but also truth telling.
Well, it's nothing new to me, man. Because it's like, as black people, like people of color, it's like I knew.
Yeah.
You know, like I see it. You know, I know my experiences. I felt like in the past I didn't want to be like harping about like, oh, like woe is me, like this shit happened to me or whatever. You know, like I wanted to be bigger than that. But you know, I feel like it's like a duty of mine that I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about this.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like I guess this album is like me being kind of bigger and blacker, a little bit. You know?
A little bit, yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, I appreciate that response because you say it's a powerful word. It's something I noticed, obviously. And is there anything else you want to say about Destination?
Yeah, Destination is one of my favorite songs on the album because of the flows that I came out with on the second verse in particular. I feel like it's crazy.
Trying to find my way to my destination. Oh.
Intuition ain't what I'm missing, my vision vivid. Hang with women, they independent, Michelle Williams. I've been in it a minute, but now I'm back in business. I invented my own style, you quick to mimic. No inhibitions, no intervention, no indecision. What they make inoffensive, what I make transcendent. To be specific, you're so defensive, Kawhi Leonard. You think it is what it is, but no, it really isn't. I've been up in my fitness in case you press the issue. Break you out with the quickness and take your sexual issue. Benevolent, never celibate, stayed relevant, I'm eloquent. I can turn this verse into a testament. Forever decadent, stay with the beverages. It's prevalent, it's evident. Born with melanin, flow effortless, so ebony. Stick with no cold remedy, ripping the shows regular, hitting the road heavily. Yo! And it's a really it's a refinement of my old style, I find too. I feel like this song is maybe one of the closest to like something someone would expect of me, but it's like the total refinement of that style.
Yeah. You know, it's like I've said this a few times already. Yeah, the flows on here are they're just spellbinding, I have to say. Like I'm just like, holy Lord. And my wife and I were listening to this last night thinking the same. She was the same because she's the one who basically fished out Breaking Kayfabe from the pile of promo CDs I had. And she's like, oh, Oliver Square. She's from Edmonton, as you know. She's like, oh, he's talking about Edmonton. So then we popped it on. And anyway, so she is also really interested in you and your work. And yeah, we were just marveling. I have to say, I hope I'm not over flattering you as I tend to do on the show sometimes, but with people. But man, it is ridiculous. So good work.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you.
Let's move on to this was one of the earliest, I guess it's an early single. Mm-hmm. My Crew.
Yeah.
Woo.
Woo.
This goes out to all my mile-in friends and my Parkettes Connects, all the kids in Little Italy, the punks in St. Henry, Plateau Bros, and the crew in the D's. Cause you know when I do it, you know I do it with ease. Made some moves with my music, you got a couple degrees. Might see me using maneuvers, I got a few on my sleeve. Become so fluent and ruthless, so underground in the sewer. Like DOS effects with my set, my sound progression is proven. You think it's all an illusion, must be the booze you're consuming. Talking shit with your clipper when all alone is confusion. Acting like beefcake Brutus when typing on your computer. Give you losers a bruising until you need a transfusion. My niggas don't run when it pop off. Might rock camo when the cops stop. Might cop a Lambo with a drop top. Make your jaw drop, white hole with a crop top. Better make like smoke with your pot shots and the hot spots fall off, nigga, not that. Want me to stay poor, nigga, stop that. Better fall back to the toe wearing all black. My crew like
This song features production by Kaytranada.
Yeah. So this song is the oldest one on the album. And the development of the song was kind of like, I don't know, it started in Montreal and like kind of ended here in a way. But definitely the first time I met Kaytranada, we were both DJing together in Montreal at a venue called Cabaret Underworld, which doesn't exist anymore. It's called Newspeak now.
Okay.
And it was me, him, and Prince Club was DJing. And I wasn't really familiar with him at that time. This would have been like a few years ago. But, you know, I heard his set, and every song was absolutely incredible. And it was like this new kind of music that I'd never heard before. I was like, what the fuck are you playing? And he's like, I made all this.
How would you describe his music for people who don't know?
Well, yeah, definitely at the time of hearing it, I was like, this has like this like Jay Dilla-like quality to it. It's funky, but it's like super hard rap, but it's very electronic, you know, and it's like got like the excitement and spirit of house music and like especially like classic house music, like Chicago house, but it's like also got this kind of off kilter funk to it and this weird like rhythm that is so singular. It's like it has those reference points, but it's just itself. It's Katra music, you know. And
He's his own thing.
Yeah, I was very excited when I heard it. I was just like, "Yo, what is with this music?" And so yeah, once he told me he made it all, I was like, "You need to send me some beats." Obviously, right? And he did. And he sent me like a pack of like tons of beats.
Yeah.
And like I went through them. Actually, the first beat that I picked for him from him, I was like, "Yo, can I get this one?" He's like, "Oh no, it's taken." Fast forward to like the future, it's the beat for the song on his album, Glowed Up.
Oh, okay.
Anderson .Paak.
So he was holding on to it for a reason, probably.
Imagine, yeah, alternate reality where I got that beat. I don't know.
Yeah, well, you actually pay tribute to him in a way. You kick off your first verse by shouting out, the line is, "Thanks to Catronata, my bass is harder."
Yes.
That's a nice one. And then, I mean, I'm not doing it justice. The flow from there is...
Thanks to Catronata, my bass is harder. Now the fakes don't bother to diss. Gotta thank my mama because she made me stronger when I had to deal with that shit. So I give my mom a shout out. I give the producers. I'm showing love.
You're showing love, yeah.
Yeah.
No, it's amazing.
But I start off the song because that's the second verse. I start off the song shouting out all Montreal neighborhoods.
Yeah,
that was something that was like really. I wanted to make a Montreal anthem, and for like the Montreal that I experienced, like not like Leonard Cohen's Montreal, but like the Montreal that was like the kind of shabby, like post Godspeed.
Mile End,
like Casa del Popolo vibe, and just and something for my friends to get excited to.
Yeah,
something that you might hear at like an after party. I want to make something that really like could like just like burn up an after party in Montreal.
You have a tendency to, I don't want to say that you romanticize cities because that implies maybe it's overwrought or something like that, or maybe it's not justified, but you develop these sentimental attachments to the cities you live in, which is, I think, normal, but you just happen to have this outlet where you can express your love for these cities. And you continue to show love for Edmonton?
Yeah, of course.
That's
I mean, that's my home.
That's you. And then Montreal has now become this huge part of you.
Yeah, Montreal is where I think, became myself, for real. Like it really allowed me the space and time to be as experimental and freaky as I could be, and really like turn the lens around on myself to be like, okay, like this is like how I want to look. This is who I want to be. This is how I want to sound. And I had like the competition around of like when I was like living there, is like Mac DeMarco was my neighbor. Like Grimes is around the corner. Blue Hawaii's over here. Like we were all braids. We were all on the same street. It's like I never experienced that before. Where it's like the Brill Building. Or something,
sure, yeah, hitmakers.
Yeah.
Canada's newest hitmakers are all there. Yeah,
we felt really fly. We felt great, but just kind of harnessing that energy, And the reason why I do that is I really believe in regionalism. I love it. Yeah. I love when I listen to a record and they really have a sense of the mood of a place and they've really captured it, because it's hard to really explain what it's like being somewhere until someone has been there. Usually, right?
Yeah, like. Knowing Montreal as much as I do, when you talk about these cities and these places, I'm transported there.
Yeah, it's all about the details and stuff. Like, one of my favorite artists is The Streets, Mike Skinner.
Yeah,
he's extremely good at this, and he's really good about like setting these like club scenes. Like, oh man, it's been so influential to me because the kind of music I make is made for clubs, and like I've spent so much time in clubs DJing in them and stuff, and I feel like there's and this comes up in the album, but like kind of like dance floor politics, and like there's this entire like culture and like life that exists only at night and in these spaces. And I feel like there's so much stuff to mine in that in music.
You mentioned that you love Montreal. We've established that. Why did you leave?
Well, actually, I left because my girlfriend got a job in Toronto, so it wasn't really like I wasn't like, oh, I'm dying to leave or anything, but I was like, yeah, I'll go with the flow. But it's actually been very beneficial for me.
You actually rap about this, I think. You rap about
leaving
Montreal with a woman to come here.
It's on the next song.
Next song, yeah.
But so it's been like a weird byproduct of living here that everything's been going so great, and I've been like making all these like different like business things that I would have never crossed my mind, or like I've been doing like voiceover for Viceland and stuff. Like I've been doing TV shows and stuff.
You got some work out of it.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's actually working itself out. But you clearly love and miss Montreal.
I mean, there's definitely like some time in my life like I'll probably move back there.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Do you want to say anything else about My Crew, Woo?
Yeah, and My Crew, part of the theme of that song too is like this idea that of like the kind of like false humility of Canada, where it's like, yeah, it's like you can't admit that you want to be successful, you know? And my song is like me just being like, listen, I want all this stuff. Listen,
Yeah.
I want like the Y3s. I want, you know, a nice car with incense in it. I want
Tinted
platinum,
Benz. Yeah.
platinum and gold records. Like, fuck you if you don't like it.
Sure.
You know, this is what I want.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like this, like kind of like the first few songs on this album. It's all about like self-reliance and me like gaining knowledge of self. Whereas like I find the second half is more like, okay, now that we've gotten that out of the way, like let's like tell some stories.
Yeah.
You know, and like let's look at other perspectives.
Yeah. Well, I mean, one of the things that that brought that really hit home with me, and we'll get to it later, is the song like High Rise. We were kind of talking about the reality of, you know, on one hand, I want all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
On the other, where am I going to put that stuff?
Yeah,
So we'll get to that in a minute. Let's move on to the next song on the record, which is another powerful one called Don't Talk to Me.
When I'm on, niggas better see the type of shit I'm on. Got phones in my face when I sing my song. Gotta know when to say that it's been too long. First came through, now everything different. Back then I had a shot, now a nigga had to pivot. Don't you fools stop blocking me. Ain't making moves, don't talk to me. This ain't back in the days now. Used to go another way, now I'm on another wave now. When the first album came out, saw me in the videos, used to thinking niggas strange now. Now I got my own lane now. Used to stay in Ed mode till a nigga took a plane out. Still got love, but I had to make my way out. Signing on a dotted line, I couldn't really break out. That is when I moved into the 6. Showed up and I wasn't on a list. No endorsements, no sponsorships. I ain't even have a pot to piss. Then it started really making sense. Had to flip it, had to make a switch. Realizing that I had a gift, couldn't let it drift. They think they're gonna fake it till they get through. They're really gonna hate it when you do you. They think they're gonna make it so you can't take control. They wanna break, they hope it breaks you. They think they're gonna fake it till they get through. They're really gonna hate it when you do you. They think they're gonna make it so you can't take control. They wanna break, they hope it breaks you too. When I'm on, niggas better see the type of shit I'm on. Got phones in my face when I sing my song. Gotta know when to say that it's been too long. First came through, now everything different. Back then I had a shot, now a nigga had to pivot. Don't you fools stop blocking me. Ain't making moves, don't talk to me.
Don't Talk to Me, which, as I recall, was produced by Francis Got Heat.
Mm-hmm.
Who is Francis Got Heat?
Francis Got Heat is a producer. He's from Toronto. And he has done a bunch of beats. Like, he did a beat for Drake. He's done beats for Big Sean, like a bunch of other huge-ass rappers. And he's, like, just one of, like, the really buzzing young producers here.
He was on More. He did a beat on More Life, right? For
Yeah,
Sampha?
yeah. He did the Sampha song on that album.
That's right, yeah.
Yeah, and I ended up getting some beats from him through Ricardo. Again, Ricardo Chung. Shout out.
Yeah.
Shout out, Ricardo. And just, like, I wasn't familiar with him at the time at all, but like listening through the beats, I was like, wow, this is like so mature, and especially for like, I think he was like, must have been like 17 or 18.
Yeah, he's a young guy, I believe. Yeah.
Yeah, and one of them in particular really like excited me because it was like so unlike anything that I would normally make, you know, and it was like just kind of like this like super hi-fi, like almost like OVO-ish kind of very Toronto sounding music.
Yeah.
And I was like, let me like navigate this, because I've always wanted to make a song. To me, this was my version of like "Bitch Don't Kill My Vibe."
Yeah, Kendrick Lamar. Yeah, it's got a dreamy but pensive quality to it.
Pensive, like there's like a seriousness to it, but like the rhythm of it too. Like I wanted to make something really melodic, which I don't really have. You know, melody is like doesn't figure into my music like a lot. Like in like the older songs, like it's I find it very abrasive. My first album, particularly.
Sure. Yeah.
But this was me. I don't know. It was a real curveball for some people when they heard this, because like it definitely sounds like closer to a lot of like mainstream rap that maybe is out nowadays.
I was going to ask if I mean we've just established there is now a vague OVO connection between you and this song and the producer and whatnot, but has OVO and Drake, like, is this scene influenced you in some way?
I wouldn't say OVO has influenced me, but their impact on Toronto has definitely influenced me.
Because you're singing more on this record too.
Yeah, but I mean, like I sang a little bit on the last record.
Always have, yeah.
But it was more on a rock singing, and now this
Yes.
is like more on. I find it to be more on like house music singing, because
You
that's
used
a
to
big
have-
influence to me.
You had like an Ian Curtis singing thing, maybe a little bit.
Oh yeah, definitely. I covered Joy Division.
I think
before.
I think I know this.
Yeah,
Yeah, and you've,
Isolation,
I think
I
you've
covered.
rapped about Joy Division maybe
Yeah,
at
yeah,
some point,
yeah.
or Ian Curtis. But there's I did think that, and I didn't want to be reductive about it because I've known you for a while, and I know you've been at this a while, and I didn't think that what was happening in contemporary culture was something you were necessarily glomming onto. But I did hear a bit of that influence.
Yeah, no, I mean that's the Toronto sound, right?
Yeah.
Like, and for me, it's just like the vibe of the young producers, and like when I go to clubs here, and like the music that I'm hearing out, and like, you know, there's definitely just like a huge wave of like new artists that are definitely influencing me, like that you know, like the Prime Boys and stuff,
Yeah.
and you know, like Pressa, and
You've always been a very open listener. Like every time I interview you or talk to you, you will mention something that I don't know, and then I'll go try to track it down, or something maybe that I also just haven't fully appreciated. And I was like that. Like every time you once did a thing when my wife and I did our college radio show where you brought music to the show,
Yeah.
and I was like, oh, like I just didn't know a bunch of it, and then I was like, what the hell was I thinking, not knowing this stuff? So I think of you as like a taste making guy.
yeah, I mean, all I do is listen to music. Like
Yeah.
when I'm not making music, I'm listening to music, and there's no exaggeration. Like 98% of the time, I have earbuds in my head or headphones or something like.
You'd be surprised. I mean, that's refreshing to me because you'd be surprised how many musicians I talk to who are a little jaded or a little like, I can't listen to music.
Oh yeah, they're like, yeah, I don't. The music on the radio sucks or something.
Not even that. I
Or
think
like,
they're in their own practice. They don't want something clouding what they.
to influence them.
Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, like that's like, man, you got to be super scary if you living like that. I've got so many ideas. I have like an endless supply of like ideas. Like I couldn't be influenced that way.
The song is another assertive song, and in terms of you talk about
It tells the story.
Talk about this notion of don't talk to me.
Yeah. I mean, like, don't talk to me unless it's productive.
Yeah,
That's the whole point, right?
okay.
Like, it's like if you don't have anything like that we can like actually build on or anything like productive, like I don't want to waste any time anymore. You know,
Yeah.
I haven't put out an album in 5 fucking years. You know, like let's talk about something important. You know,
First came through, now everything different. Back then I had a shot. Now
I had to pivot.
Had to pivot. There's a sense that you're shifting here. And in fact, you say had to hustle, had to make a shift. Go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, I definitely, and I talk about like, you know, you used to think a nigga strange, used to see me in the videos, you know, like I feel like the way that I was presented in like the music videos for my like early work and stuff, it was like, yeah, I'm like this like underground, like weird, funky rapper and stuff. And I didn't realize how it looked because it's hard for you to be able to see outside of yourself.
Yeah.
But, and also it's easier to see things in retrospect. In retrospect, I'm so like not like that. You know, and like the songs like this album is like such an accurate reflection of my personality.
Right.
Like, yeah, I am sarcastic. Yeah, I'm funny, but I can really rap.
Yeah.
You know, like it's like it really encompasses all these things. And this song also tells the story of like where I've been basically for this period of time. You know, like if anyone wants to know, it's in this song. You know, like had to move out of Edmonton. Moved to Montreal, left the city with a boss bitch now. Like
That's right.
Yeah.
It's a story.
Yeah, it's a story. And it's
Okay.
like I felt like I had to explicitly kind of talk about it. And also I talk about how like kind of like money things that were like not going correctly, you know, with regards to the people I used to work with. And how I needed to right the ship, you know.
Right. Yeah, that's unfortunately a classic. I appreciate you being a bit diplomatic about
Yeah, I
about
mean,
it, and
it's like the way I feel like is I don't look back in anger. You know, like I'm always trying to move forward,
Yeah.
and I don't think it's like that important for me to like. I'm not gonna like name names. I'm not gonna you know, totally shit on the people I used to work with. But I will acknowledge that it was very hard for me to deal with, and created so many problems for me that it almost made me so I couldn't make music. Right.
I mean, when people wonder where you've been, I wondered that too.
That's a big part of it.
Yeah.
That's a big part of it. But I will also openly blame myself as well.
Yeah.
You know, it's like not just all that industry shit. It was also to do with like where I was in my life and like my priorities. Like, yeah, I was like, I want to write a book of poetry instead of an album right now. You know,
I thought at one point I'd heard you were thinking of going by your own name. You were going to abandon Cadence Weapon and go by Rolly Pemberton.
I was having an identity crisis. I was feeling like the name had been like ruined for me or something. You know, like just based on all the stuff I was kind of just talking about.
This
like
is you owning it.
Yeah,
this is you like reclaiming it.
Exactly. Yeah, making it the title too.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, I'm okay with the name. This is who I am.
It's a great name.
Yeah. The more I talk about it, the more I realize people like it.
It's a fantastic name. Yeah, it's great. Okay. Anything else you want to say about Don't Talk to Me?
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to the guy who mixed this album, Frieza Chen.
Okay.
He's a guy. He's from here, and he's like mixed all kinds of crazy tracks.
Okay.
And he really did a lot for this album, and he brought it to that like level of like the new rap that I'm liking a lot, and like made it sound the way it's supposed to. And yeah, I want to give him props.
Okay, that's great. That's great. We move on to the next song on the record, which is produced by Chef Bayer.
Yeah.
And Trouble Knot.
Yeah.
And it's called Large.
Large.
Caught a wave and know we ain't gon' fall. Everywhere we go, they know just who we are. Rolling through, you know my crew involved. Every time we drop, you know we do it large. Haters in the place, better vacate. Making big moves, you in the same space. I was narrating on payday. You was devastated, player hating on me every day. Why? I don't really know what they trying to say. What? I don't see shit in the same way. Nah. Been this way since grade 8. When I'm getting paid, don't let it come a day late. No, I'm not sentimental, independent. Living in the present, trying to stay great. No, I'm not calm and gentle, kinda mental. Swinging off the trees like a primate. Don't really care about the shit you're into. James Baldwin on the instrumental. Speak straight up, no innuendo. Might throw a brick right up in your window. Back in the days, used to play Nintendo. Now I don't play games unless it pays the rental. Trying to stay draped up in some Kindle. Trying to pay for the range, navigate the Benzel. Trying to put me in a box, but it ain't that simple. A lot of cats rap, but they spit conventional. So many flows make it rain torrential. Raise the issue, raise with the page and pencil. Caught a wave and know we ain't gon' fall. Everywhere we go, they know just who we are. Rolling through, you know my crew involved. Every time we drop, you know we do it large. With my team, we do it large. With a check, I do it large. When I flex, I do it large. Everything we do is large. When I move, I do it large. With the bars, I do it large. With my girl, I do it large. Everything we do is large.
Okay, I love this song, personally. This is one of my favorites, and it's one of my favorites to play as well, because it's like definitely bars. Like this was one where I really wanted to stunt really hard, and I wanted to kind of just like, I feel like this is the most Toronto-ish sounding track.
Did you see what I just did there? Canadian self-conscious laugh at someone saying they wanted to
stunt. Well, that's what I talk about that in this song.
It's so ingrained in me.
We can't help it.
I can't. I promote the show and I do stuff, but I try to do it just like here it is. Like I don't try to brag about it or anything.
Listen, here's what we're gonna do. Okay, Vish, you're gonna come into the studio next time you're here. Next time I come here, I want to see you with a Creative Control chain. All caps.
I can't do it. I have a slight bit of I have a modicum of modesty.
You got to stunt on these people.
It's hard. I want the work to speak for itself. I think you were in that boat too.
I feel that way too. Yeah. But sometimes it's okay to say that you're dope.
I feel like the show's good. It just doesn't get the attention it deserves.
That's what I'm talking about.
I think it is a very good show. And
there we go.
A small number of people tell me it's a good show, and a good number of people listen to it. But at the same time, I want it to be like in the news all the time. I want people to be like, that is the best music interview podcast.
No, that's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, see, now you got me riled up. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I would normally not do
Let me put a beat on.
So this is you stunting.
Yeah, definitely. This is me stunting. Kind of like, I don't know, it's like, I felt like people in the past, have derided me for not being like as good of a rapper or whatever that they think. And this is me just like showing them like, listen, this is what it really is. Like I'm making these records, I'm doing all these things, it's like, I think the real essence of this song though, and I think it's more in the second verse that I really like about it. I'll say in the first verse, there's one line I love. Yeah. It's like, I say it's like, don't care about the shit you're into. James Baldwin on the instrumental.
That's good.
Speak straight up, no innuendo. Might throw a brick right up in your window. Now, and then I go to this one line, which is, try to put me in a box, but it ain't that simple. Now, it's like a double entendre.
Yeah.
Where it's like so many people in like music industry, once you're doing one thing, they'll only let you do that for the rest of your life.
Because they know how to market that.
Yeah, and they're used to it.
Yeah.
And if you change, it makes people uncomfortable. I always want to change. Every time I come out with a record, I want it to be totally different. But it's like they try to put you in that box and they want to keep you in it and dig a hole and put the box in the ground.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It's like they're trying to kill you.
Yeah.
So
Pigeonhole you,
so that's my way of being like, I'm not accepting that.
There's one of the reasons I think I was first really into hip hop and rap music when I was like a little kid is that I could sense the aspirational and political aspects of it.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like Drake, and again, I don't want to put too fine a point on this, but I feel like, first of all, let me come clean. I am not a tremendous fan of the Drake, but there's something about Started from the Bottom, Now We Hear, that has seemed to transcend the song, this notion as almost a mantra. And your chorus here is caught a wave and no, we ain't gonna fall. Everywhere we go, they know just who we are. It's this sense of strength, I think. This notion, it is similarly a motivational chorus. And I don't mean, again, I don't want to draw too fine a line between that Drake thing and you.
I mean, like, that's like just a tenet of rap.
It is,
like,
exactly.
There's been so many things like that.
Yeah.
But that's definitely what I want this song to do too. Like,
Yeah.
it is aspirational.
Yeah.
I want people to listen to it when they go to the gym and like feel like they can lift a car. That's just a simple thing I'd like.
A large car.
A large car.
As a
like,
matter of fact.
Really large.
Okay. Well, it's a bit of braggadocio.
But then the second verse, I feel like I tap into something that I think is really important.
Why won't you get out the way? I don't want minimum wage. I'm trying to get me some pay without me going insane. Don't get the digits the same, get it in different ways. Want my condition to change, like I requested a trade.
I talk about I don't want minimum wage. Now, when I say that, it's like, no, it's not just about like, oh, I want to make a bunch of money. It's like I literally do not want minimum wage, which is what is expected of me as a person of color. From if you look at the statistics, like black man versus white man, black man makes 26% less.
Right.
Why is that? I don't deserve less.
Right.
I consider myself equal or better.
Yeah.
So it's talking about those kind of distinctions and then I'm talking about like, the way that people make money as a musician is changing, like don't get the digits the same, get it in different ways. Well, my conditions have changed, like I requested a trade. It's just about diversifying your portfolio. And that's what I've been doing too, like doing doing the voiceover stuff. I've been doing writing, hosting lectures, like making music,
You're
producing.
bi-coastal, you say. You're doing speeches.
Doing speaking things.
Speaking engagements. Yeah.
It's like you got to get in where you fit in. Like today, it's like you're not necessarily going to sell a bunch of records.
But you never. I mean, we talked about this 5-year gap. We've talked about how you're expanding your portfolio. We talked also about how you were thinking of giving up your name.
Yeah.
You never really seriously contemplated leaving this. And I think you mentioned the poetry book, but did you ever contemplate leaving all of this musical stuff behind?
I mean, it crossed my mind just because it was getting to a point where it was so hard, to the point where it was like, wow, I was feeling really like unconfident about the music, like the industry stuff, like the label I was on collapsed. Stop existing. I was like, what am I going to do?
Upper class?
Yeah.
Yeah,
they don't exist.
I didn't even notice that.
Well, there you go.
I feel badly for saying that.
Well, that's exactly the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah, and just definitely wasn't. I was feeling like, oh, maybe. I mean, I could never stop making music because it's just like it's like therapy to me. It's so much fun. Yeah. But definitely like just on an industry side, it briefly crossed my mind just because of like how like fucked up things were getting. But this is like, I guess when I do these songs that are super like aspirational or like hyped up and like have that attitude, it's almost like I'm trying to do it for myself.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like it's like a self-help.
Yeah, no, I think that's true. I think we express ourselves for some form of therapy in our own way, and it's therapeutic. So I see where you're coming from.
Mm-hmm.
When I flex, I do it large. Everything we do is large. When I move, I do it large. With the bars, I do it large. With my girl, I do it large. Everything we do is large.
I want to move on to the next song. It is more of a story.
Yeah.
I think it's about it sounds like it's about a specific person, but I think it's also about a type of person. It was produced by Jacques Green. It's called The Host.
I'll be there right away. 1 a.m. when he wake up. Few more hours, gotta stay up. Had a little fight cause he's out all night, but him and his girl just made up. He lives in apartment tower. He reads Resident Advisor. He's drinking a beer in the shower. Got more drugs than Pfizer. His club is a new Hacienda, new Tony Wilson. Party 24 hours, need intervention. Got a PA system, rotary mixer. Don't know how to use it, think it sounds sicker. Oh shit, buy a drink, get some more liquor. Small town boy, West End, feeling bigger. Whole club burning up, but it's still winter. Used to give him a buzz, it's a lot dimmer.
Welcome to the party. The sound system is booming, you know. We got the same system as Fabric. Nah, for real. Any shit you need, I got it. And if I don't got it, he's got it. That guy in the corner's got it. So don't worry. And we're not getting shut down tonight. No way. You see, we paid that extra fee. If you know what I mean. But hey, who's your friend or what's her name? Hey, I'm your host for the evening. You need a drink, just let me know.
You mentioned that you're really immersed in club culture on some level. You encounter all types of characters, ne'er-do-wells,
Yeah.
and good people too. But the host sounds like a person I would encounter, even every community. How would you describe this person, if you will?
I would say he's like the Weinstein of club world.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like, obviously I wrote this like way before all these things were happening, but it is particularly resonant now. I mean, there was a specific DJ promoter person in Montreal that inspired me to write this song, but I've also encountered a lot of people who had elements of this, and I kind of put them all together into one. You know, whether they were a DJ or they ran an after-hours venue, and so just anyone in that world who had like a disproportionate amount of power and used it to turn their environment into like the cool place to be.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like when you're in there was a period of time in Montreal where like after parties were going crazy. Like there was a party maybe like 4 after parties like a week. You know, and it was like getting to the point where me and my friends, we were just like, I was DJing a lot of them. I was promoting them. I was like putting together bills and like partying until like 8 a.m. And, you know, it became like just nightlife. Like that was like my whole life.
Right.
Like I'd sleep all day and just like be like, when's the next party? I'm going to DJ, you know?
Right.
And everyone was just doing tons of drugs. And it was just like this like super like self-destructive period. During this time, there are these like creepy people who are in power. Yeah. And it's like, it's almost like they had set themselves up to be in a position like that where they could kind of assert that power in super negative ways. Yeah. And it's like, I didn't realize what was happening at the time, but in retrospect, it's like, oh my God, like some of this shit was like, could have been criminal, you know? Like, I mean, it's like, there's not so much that I know specifically happened, but it's more just talking about just a general like white privilege situation.
But you talk about this power dynamic being extinguished in a sense. In the song, this person, this Weinstein-type character, is sort of exorcised from the community. Like he in this case, I think it's a he, has to leave.
Yeah.
It eats him alive.
I mean, it's like, this is like the call-out culture.
Yeah.
You know, and that's what happens in the song. It's like this guy who basically, when you look back and look at his body of work as an individual, it's like, okay, he totally marginalized women and people of color, would not hire them for his parties, would pay women less than men, would like sexually harass like every woman he encountered, you know? And eventually it just like builds to a powder keg and he is forced to leave the community, right? That has actually happened in Montreal, you know, and like we've seen it a few times, now. And I think this was like pre-Weinstein, so it was like it already started a lot of changes in the community in
Good.
Montreal.
I mean,
And,
that's good.
and it's like, because it's such a small community of artists there, it's like everybody knows everybody. And it's like, it got to the point, it's like, we really need to like take a good look at what's happening in our community and really like protect each other. You know, it's like, if we're going to talk about how we have this super like tight-knit, like self-governed, like really like safe space focused community, we really have to like, we can't like let people like this be a part of it anymore.
Well, it appropriately has a beat that I think is a bit sinister, but also moves the story along. Like it's got a good pace to it. Can you talk about Jacques Green?
Jacques Green, he is become really one of my best friends. He is an amazing DJ, like world-class DJ, and we have the same feeling about like the club world. Like I think him being from Montreal and me like living there for so long, and like our perspective on like what clubbing really means. It's like, I think he knew exactly the kind of music to make for me. Like we got together and like he was just be like working on the music, jamming out, and I'd be like, oh yeah, I like that, like loop that, maybe like move this to here, and like we would just like hang out, you know, and like by the end we'd have like a song.
Oh, that's rad.
Yeah, so like we actually have a really great working relationship, and I think he really resonated with the idea of the song too.
I mean, it's good of you. You mentioned that your earlier stuff was really introspective and solitary. It sounds like social dynamics are a huge part of your music making now.
Yeah, I didn't really think about doing that before, but like now that I'm much more collaborative, it feels like less lonely.
Yeah,
You know, when you even listen to the music, like you feel like there's multiple hands in it, you know, and it's like not just like, the other thing that was really important to me was to work with women on this album, because I look back at my previous albums, like not only do I not collaborate with anyone, but like I'd never done any music with a woman before. Really?
Now,
Well, I mean, no, I don't think so.
Huh.
I know it seems like insane, but I mean, I was mostly making all the music just by myself, like producing it all, and I was the only vocalist, and the only guest really I ever had on an album was Buck 65.
Man, that You Can't Stop the Machine verse of his is still, I still think of that verse.
It's hilarious.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like I can get different kinds of verses out of him than anyone else. For some
I'm
reason.
number one. The rest of y'all are zero. Very
Yeah.
good. Very good. I love that, man.
Yeah.
Okay, we're going to move on to the next song, which is, you mentioned collaborating with women. It is 5 Roses featuring Blue Hawaii, and it was produced by Blue Hawaii as well.
Wild roses, where I'm from. 5 roses flashing up above. I was eating like a kid back when Mac moved into our building in Outremont. Used to treat a rack like it was a lick. Used to make a band, thought I made it big. Used to fill the float up with Lauriers. Back when I was living on Laurier. Going in and out, catching interference. We should hit the show, we should make appearance. Wading through the snow, hope they go and clear it. Hope that anybody shows, hope they wanna hear it. See the pink sky like Sean said. We think about life getting better. Used to hang around by the train tracks. Wish that we could do this forever. Forever.
Five Roses is, I think it's kind of connected to the host in a way, because it's talking about like, the first verse is this like nostalgia for Montreal, and like 5 Roses, it references the big sign that blinks and says
It's a flower company?
Yeah, Farine, 5 Roses, and it's like become this like marker for me whenever I return to town. You know, I'm like, oh, I'm home. I see the 5 Roses sign.
Do you see that on the train when you come in on the train? Yeah, I've seen that sign. Yeah. And you shout out Mac DeMarco in the first.
Yeah. There's like a lot of references like to some of my friends.
Yeah.
Like I mean, even like 5 Roses, like that's a Miracle Fortress album. It's
Oh, yeah,
called
that's right.
5 Roses.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And then I say like I reference Think About Life just by saying those words, and See the Pink Sky like Sean said. That's Sean Nicholas Savage.
Yes.
You know, like that. I wanted to like really talk about that era, and so I referenced some of the people in it.
Isn't there a Blue Raincoat reference in this song?
Yes, that's right. Yeah.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah, that's how like I always saw Montreal as like, oh, this is like my destiny. I need to live here. Like, you know, if I want to be like a Canadian artist, like this is the place to be.
It's a wonderful there's some cities I feel uncomfortable in Canada, and I always feel like Montreal is where I should be.
Yeah, I mean, it's really got such a unique, special essence to it, and Yeah, me referencing Leonard Cohen there, it's kind of like,
yeah.
that's how like obsessed with Montreal I was.
Yeah.
I bought a blue raincoat. I didn't even like think about it. I only thought about it later. I was like, man, I'm walking around Montreal with a fucking blue raincoat on like I'm Leonard Cohen.
It's sort of sad to me that you're not there. It just, you seem like you're in love with the place and you miss the people there. But it does also seem like you mentioned Adam Waito is now in Toronto.
Yeah.
People are moving around.
People are moving, but
people
you know,
leave Montreal.
Honestly though, like maybe by the time this interview comes out, I might be like living back in Montreal again.
Yeah, I can see there might be a boomerang effect there. Is there anything you want to say about, I mean, I don't want to delve too much into it. It's a very personal song lyrically, and I think it's worth people pouring over because you mentioned a few things.
I'm very proud of this song. I'm very proud of the lyrics in this song.
And it's a very dynamic song for you in terms of there's rapping, I think there's some singing, there's a real emotive quality to it, and that is, I think, heightened also by Blue Hawaii.
Yeah. And they're very close friends of mine in Montreal, and like Raphael, like fellow Albertan.
That's right.
Right. And
from Calgary.
Yeah, from Calgary.
Don't front like
she's not from Edmonton.
Not
she's
from
Calgary,
from
but
Calgary.
She's still okay.
Yeah.
And yeah, we've like worked on stuff before, but like it didn't come out, and it was something like Alex Cowan, the producer of Blue Hawaii. He and I, we made some music before, and I was back in Montreal, and I went to the studio with him, and like he was just playing some stuff he'd made recently. I was like, oh my God, give me that right now. Like send it. I was like heading on a train like back to Toronto. I was like, I need that right now.
Right.
And I kind of like sat on it for a while, and then like something like clicked, and I like wrote a song like immediately.
Oh wow.
It's weird. Like it's like when I get the influence, like it just like comes out really fast.
Mm-hmm.
And so part of it was like the first verse is nostalgia for like hanging out in the train yards and just our kind of like bohemian lifestyle that we had, like where we were just like we all we did was make art and, you know, eat pizza and, you know, drink 40s and stuff.
Yeah.
And it felt very innocent. But then the second verse is about that loss of innocence that I think inevitably comes when you get older.
Right.
But particularly in Montreal, it comes back to what I was talking about with like the kind of like nightlife shakeup that's kind of happened with certain people, and, you know, how we, you know, need to remember our morality.
Yeah.
It's weird. It's like, I don't think that comes up in a lot of rap.
Well, there's like I mentioned earlier, I feel like as much as you are frenetic here and really going for stuff, there's a sort of maturity is such a loaded term because it suggests something slowing down, I think, or being tempered.
Yeah.
But I do think taking stock and having some control over your flow, over your voice, over what you're going to talk about, because a lot of this is about assertion of control.
Yeah.
And I feel like that comes through on a career vocational level, but also just like emotionally and taking control of your station in life and all those things. Like I feel like you're finding yourself a little bit.
I feel like this is like something that I've always wanted to do, a song like this, where it's like not just like a total like blunt force beat to the face.
Yeah.
Like it's really like a big part of my personality is I'm an extremely sensitive, emotional person. Yeah. You know, and like that might not really shine through in stuff that I've made before. But I think this album really features the two sides of my personality, like where I'm like very, you know, like super Pisces as hell. And then like the other side of me is like I'm like rap god.
Yes.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, so it's
hard. It's hard to be a dynamic person sometimes. People want you to be one or the other.
They want to put you in a box.
Put you in a box. Forget about you.
But it ain't that simple.
We are going to move on to the next song, which is called Soju.
Yeah.
It is, again, produced by Gibbs, who we spoke of earlier.
Now every time I roll through, I'm sipping slow with my whole crew, doing everything to make it fast like we're supposed to. Kill it every time we in the lab, man, that's old news. Thinking about the obstacles we passed that we broke through.
Chilling in the crib, drinking soju. Don't know how it is, let me show you. In it how we live, we don't know you. Tell the whole truth, no we won't.
Trying to win with my whole team like it's road rules. Used to drink gallons of the trad that was old school. Used to keep a bottle in my bag when I come through. Now I feel patient, drink it just to taste it. Don't drink it to get wasted. Different conversations in my liquor cabinet. Got good at conservation. Back in Montreal, I got high like constellations. Now I keep it low when I'm on St. Lo. Used to play every day, right now I'm feeling grown. was getting blazed. You could call me Rolling Stone, sleeping in a snowbank. Almost didn't make it home. Had to change my path on my own. Now every time I roll through, I'm sipping slow with my whole crew, doing everything to make it fast like we're supposed to. Kill it every time we in the lab, man, it's old news. Thinking about the obstacles we passed, how we broke through.
So Soju is another song that's like very introspective to me. It's about drinking responsibly. That's the theme of that song.
What is soju?
Soju is this kind of like, I think it's Korean liqueur, kind of like Korean like rice wine type drink. And
you have it like to complement a dinner or something?
Yeah, it's like very light. It's really nice. And I really got into it on a trip to LA where I was actually marrying two people to each other.
You were
I was the officiant.
Really?
Yeah, I'm an ordained minister. Yeah.
What?
Yeah, they got me ordained just to marry them to each other. It's like
Did you do that online?
They did it all for me. Yeah, and it's a totally legally binding
yes,
marriage.
I've heard about that. Yeah.
Yeah, and I did. It was like dope. Like my speech and stuff. I did all the stuff.
It's good for you.
It was on a mountain, which it comes up actually in the album on Infinity Pool.
Oh, okay.
Where I married some people and like
would we know the people you married?
No.
Okay. They're just friends.
They're just friends. Okay. But anyway, while I was in LA, for that, I was staying with Owen Pallett, who was living there at the time. Yeah. And we went out for dinner with a bunch of his friends and in Little Tokyo, and we were just like drinking mad soju, and I was just like, man, this is like so chill.
Yeah.
Like I need to like just drink like this. This is so like felt good. Like I felt good after I drank it. You know?
Right.
And it's like about the idea of like when I was a teen in Alberta, it was more just about like how much can I drink.
Right. Yeah.
I need to drink as much as possible.
Right.
Where instead of like what's the quality of what I was drinking, and like just being more thoughtful about like that kind of like imbibing in anything, because
again, mature. Again, I don't want to invoke the M word, but
no, it's okay.
Maturity.
It's okay. It's good to be mature. I think it's cool.
Yeah,
I think maturity is very cool.
Okay.
What's not cool is like dying young.
Yes, exactly.
That sucks.
Yeah,
it's really bad.
Yeah.
So I'd rather be mature and alive. Personally.
Yes.
And that's I kind of talk about this, which actually happened. I got so drunk one time that in Edmonton that I fell asleep in a snowbank.
Yeah, I noticed that. Yeah,
seriously, like and a friend of mine actually happened to be driving by and noticed a person face down in the snow.
Really?
Yeah,
it's that bad.
Yeah,
Just to be clear, an Edmonton snowbank, an Edmonton winter
deep.
Is not. Yeah, it's a deep snowbank, but the cold is unlike most cold.
Yeah, you can't really hang out outside that long.
No,
you shouldn't be.
That's really frightening. I didn't know this.
Yeah, it was like very irresponsible of me.
But you can kind of laugh about it now. But
I mean, like it's kind of funny in a way, and it's like some super Canadian shit.
It seems very sad to me. I
will
say.
Yeah, definitely.
Well, this brings me to the, I guess it's sort of the coda, or the conclusion, or whatever you want to call it.
You know we ain't trying to die. We gon' make it out alive. You know we ain't trying to die. We gon' make it out alive. You know we ain't trying to die. We gon' make it out alive. We gon' make it out alive. We gon' make it out alive. Yeah.
You know we ain't trying to die. We're gonna make it out alive. You repeat this a lot, and it's in a distorted voice, and it really is impactful. Again, we've talked about the aspirational quality of the record and the writing here. This seems significant to me, the way this song ends.
Yeah. I mean, to me, it's like kind of my like 808 Heartbreaks moment.
Yeah.
And I felt like doing that just came up in the studio too. Like it wasn't like written or planned, but I was thinking like, yeah, that's the essence of this song. Is it's like I wanted people to really resonate with it, to be like, this like self-destructive like rock and roll, lifestyle, which like we see so much with like the new rap is just like about total hedonism and like debauchery and like doing as many like, pharmaceutical drugs as possible. And it's like, I don't want to rap about that shit. I don't want to like big it up. I don't want, it's not who I am. Like I want to live like a long time, It's
funny that you've had this awakening and I think a really nihilistic period in our timeline. Like, I feel like everyone is just like, well, the earth is ending. Clearly, people don't care. They're electing the weirdest, worst people in the world.
Why do I feel so optimistic?
It's weird.
I am very
it's great.
optimistic about
It's
like,
great.
the future
I feel
of-
like you had, because again, you're a tastemaker. I think you're a bit of a soothsayer. I feel like Hope in Dirt City is more reflective of this time than this record
Yeah,
is. But
yeah.
this is the kind of record we need in this time because it gives a sense of, it's a hopeful trajectory. It's
Yeah.
like a sense of, no, this is worth doing. This is worth living.
It's like taking inventory of like the problems that are going on in life today and like deciding let's do something about it.
Yeah, totally. Okay, let's move on.
Yeah,
I think
sure.
we're okay to move on, and
Yeah.
I feel like the next song
That will be
is
System. Yeah.
System, which is produced by
Ango.
Ango.
Clerks say brother when they greet him. Dads talk jive when they meet him. Yeah, it's irritating, but at least they're not hating like the cops every time that they see him. He's kicked out of stores like it's urgent, even though a nigga just purchased. Old ladies clutching their purses. When he walking down the street, they get nervous. He just got a job in service, but the higher-ups make him feel worthless. Sold the most jeans that the mall's ever seen, but they don't give a fuck how he's working. He goes to the club with his figures, all the white folks singing out nigga. Came to get saved by the rhythm, now he's feeling like a slave to the system.
I've been going hard, trying to get up off the wall. Won't let my cup hit the bottom. This is our night forevermore. We're reborn in the night right now. This is so right now. Before we have to come right down.
Ango is a dude also from Montreal.
Right.
Rep in Montreal, but he lives here. And he's a producer of all kinds of stripes, and he's kind of a part of the same crew as like a Jacques Green or like Lunis. Like he's like similar.
Okay.
And it features Brendan Phillip.
Yeah, who's Brendan Phillip?
Brendan Phillip is one of my favorite artists, and he is from Toronto, and he's like an amazing like kind of singer, but he like makes kind of house music, and it's very futuristic. And I feel like he's a really unheralded artist who hasn't really gotten like a shot to like put out music properly. And I was like trying to work with him so hard, you know, like when I moved here.
Yeah.
And eventually Ango and him, they have an EP together that's coming out.
Oh, okay.
And I had been talking to Ango about doing something together for a long time. And it all just kind of came together. It was like, yeah, let's like all meet up in the studio and let's like do a track. And so the idea of this song is something that was like really important to me on this album. It's like I wanted to have different perspectives and really think about, you know, it's a thing that I like to do in all my work is talk about like, you know, why people do the things they do, you know? And like this song is about like the salvation of the dance floor. You know, it's about like why we go to the club. You know, it's like maybe they forget about our problems or like, you know, feel better, you know, until you have to go back to work or whatever, you know?
Yeah.
And then sometimes that doesn't even work because, you know, it crops itself up at the party. The song is really all about microaggressions. If you're familiar with this term.
I am familiar with the term.
Yeah.
How do you mean?
Like either like racial or sexist microaggressions.
Okay.
Like, the first verse is basically, from my perspective, as a black person.
Did this happen to you, by the way?
Like all the stuff I'm
Yeah.
talking about has happened to me in no uncertain terms. Basically, yeah, it's inspired by me, but also like people I talk to too. Like the second verse though is like really inspired by like women in my life. And
Well, I feel like if the first verse is about you and you write in the third person, but I couldn't help but feel like the first verse was about yourself.
Yeah.
And like a first person account written in the third person. And then similarly for the second, it feels like you might be addressing, among other things, a bad boyfriend.
Yeah. I mean, it's like there's a little like almost a joke about myself. in
Yeah.
there. Like, you know, it's like about I basically call myself out for gaslighting almost, you know, like by like, you know, when, you know, my, you know, say like my girlfriend it's talking about issues at work or something, and like it's like, no, I'm like focusing on my rapping, you know, and like it's like he acts like the shit never happened.
It's a very common thing to I don't know what it is. It's particularly about work. I feel like it's pretty common to block off someone else's work concerns for your own. I don't know why.
Yeah.
It's a weird impulse.
I mean, it's like me acknowledging that like I've probably done that before, you know, and like I think a lot of guys do that kind of thing.
Why is that? What's wrong with us?
Well, we're the worst.
That's becoming clear.
Guys
Yeah,
are the absolute worst.
we're the worst. Yes. Yeah.
But yeah, I also so I just wanted to write that verse too, just to be like, it was really inspired by my girlfriend, and I wanted to show her that I've been listening.
But is the system a social system?
It's like the systematic structures that like of like work that control us. You know, like it's like in the first verse, it's like a guy who works at the mall, who is very good at his job but doesn't get acknowledged, and has like racist shit happen to him all day. Like this shit like at the top of that verse, that is like my like put that on my tombstone. Like that's like my life. It's like.
But you live for the night. We're reborn in the night right now. Let's just soar right now before we have to come right down. There's kind of this escapism that happens at night.
Yeah.
The sunlight kind of is the sun and the day. It's very hard to find that release.
You can forget about it. You can like lose yourself in the music.
Yeah.
You can or remind yourself of like an old song, and it reminds you of like an old time when you were happier. Like there's like so many things. Like music is so powerful.
Yeah.
You know, and it's like I wanted to. This is again a very optimistic song in the end.
Yeah.
Because it's like talks about all these problems, but it's like you can find salvation through music.
Okay. Well, that was well put. I think we should move on to High Rise.
Yeah.
When city life has got you down, and all day you search around, get on your feet and off the ground. Let's move into a high rise. City life can drive you mad. I've seen it happen, it's so sad. Just log out, stop checking ads, and move into a high rise.
Who needs community? Not me and you, or you and me. Swimming pools all in our suite. Beats the view on College Street. Who needs the shops and schools? Not you and me, or me and you. Baby girl, you know it's true. We're moving to a high rise. Moving to a high rise.
High Rise is an amazing song produced by Jacques Green again. And we've talked about your moving around a little bit. We've talked to you about you living in Edmonton, Montreal, Toronto. You once wrote a song called Real Estate, which was more kind of tongue-in-cheek, I thought, but this seems like a very direct analysis of what's happening with how people are able to live in cities these days. It's this sarcastic, hypnotic chorus move into a high rise. Like it's almost like a subliminal message.
Yeah, it's like it's that part is like the real estate agent like telling you.
Yes.
It's like the pitch.
Yes, exactly. What inspired this song?
Okay, so this is inspired by me and my girlfriend moving to Toronto, and when we were looking for a place to live, it was really hard. It took super long time, and like whether it was because like obviously I had some landlords who like didn't want to rent to us because of me being a black person. That happened a couple times actually.
How do you know when that's happening? I know it's an assumption to make, but
there was a guy in Roncesvalles who only asked me about what I did for money.
Oh, he
didn't ask her anything. Only asked me, and it was just like, so like, how are you going to be able to pay rent here? Basically,
How did you respond?
I was like, well, I'm a professional musician. I'm a writer.
Yeah.
And he was just, he
was
was like grilling me, like for all kinds of information. And while like behind his back, like my girlfriend's like giving me the eye, like let's get out of here.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah. But yeah, we looked at. It's sometimes you have to deal with that. But
on a lesser level, I've dealt with some of that stuff too, and I'm not. But I haven't. I don't know. I also think I am naive about that stuff.
I mean, like when I would go to look at apartments, I would always put on my like apartment outfit.
What?
Which was like my I have a very nice coat.
Yes.
And like like a button up shirt and stuff. And I would look like not that hip hop. And occasionally I'd just be like, I'm a writer.
Yes.
I'd be kind of hide. One time like they found out I was a musician, and they were like, well, we had a drummer here once, so we're not going to let you guys move in.
Oh.
And I was like, I'm not a drummer.
No.
I'm not going to be practicing drums. But anyway,
yeah.
This song was inspired by that whole experience because it got to the point where we were like, we're not going to be able to find like a nice like house or like an apartment to like move into. Maybe we should just do like one of those high-rise apartments or like or like a condo. Let's just do the condo thing, you know. And I remember just like I was super stressed, like, and I was like taking a bath because I was so stressed.
Right.
And the song
needed a soak,
and the song came to me, and I was like just in the tub, like
it's it's a commentary on your own situation, but I think it's a commentary on what a lot of people are going through.
Yeah, and I lived on College Street at the time.
Yeah,
so I'm
which
just
you
like,
shout out a little bit. Well, you sort of shouted out. You kind of put it down.
Well, yeah, no, it's like it's the pitch.
Yes,
from the real estate person. It's like it's way better than where you're living right now.
Right,
right. You know, and it's like yes, it's definitely like this. I see like some kind of like American Psycho vibes in it, whereas and this kind of like yuppie, almost like 80s lifestyle. Like it's definitely.
Yeah,
I don't know. I hope people understand like the perspective of it because I definitely, you know, I'm not like pro condo.
No, not at all.
It's obvious.
No, I
like,
thought you were making a critique about it, and like you say about what the pitches that you get.
And you know, yeah, like when I say like city life can drive you mad, I've seen it happen. It's so sad, and it's like very extremely like fake.
Yes,
being sad.
Yes,
and that's like how I see like these real estate agents. They treat mental health issues, you know, like they'll like take out all these like cheap services for homeless people and you know totally like gut these neighborhoods like they're trying to do Parkdale, and they don't care about who they displace.
Yeah,
you know, but like they'll pretend that they care to like be able to build what they want to build.
And this notion of like who needs community.
Yeah. Like who needs all this, like all the building blocks of like what made this community so good that you want to build a giant tower there.
Yeah,
you kind of forgot.
It's an amazing commentary on it. I'm actually really happy that you've spoken out about as much of the many things that you've spoken out about on this record are really integral.
I love in the last verse there's you know, lose the need to be house proud.
Yeah.
Get over the underground.
Yes, that's very good.
Like, get up there, get into this condo. You'll be happier.
I'm clinging to our downtown home, and some people I think view it as downtown Guelph.
Yeah,
but some people view it as kind of this vain attempt at staying hip and cool. And I'm like, no, it's just better.
Yeah,
I don't know what to tell you. It's just better to be down here. So I don't want to live in a suburb. Anyway, fantastic song. We are going to move on now to a song you alluded to earlier. It is called Infinity Pool. It features KCMQ.
Yeah.
Sedative in me for negative energy. All my amenities cool. No more rigidity. Need my serenity. Live in infinity pool. Secret identity who? No, I don't think you should know. Said that she's knowing my face like memory foam. All in my pillow at home. I said nice to know you. No crossing the border. She's sweeter than cinnamon, girl. Been in Topanga, I hosted a wedding. I fell off a cliff taking selfies. Nearly fell down some stories for my story. Recorded some shit that ain't important. All of these flights are remaining in orbit, and all of the prices stay exorbitant. Returning for tour, I'm treating this shit like it's war. Settling scores, rental van look like a tank. I'm out here going for broke, used to be poor. Now I spend cash on couture, happily breaking the bank. Jacket Azure, cop that thing back at the store. Don't know what this shit is for.
Tell me about your name and the days you were alone. Bending on your love even when you hear it slow. Tell me about your name and the days you were alone.
Who is KCMQ?
He is a really amazing musician. I met him through another artist that I worked with a little bit on the album named Tika, and he produced for her and was DJing for her at a show that we all did together on a boat.
On a boat?
Yeah, it was on a boat, and I was like loving his beats, and I talked to him there, and then we ended up linking up and working on some stuff in his studio. I think he's going to be a really popular artist in the next couple years. Like he's got some great ideas. But this song is all about conspicuous consumption.
Conspicuous consumption.
Yeah, it's all about buying some shit that you don't need, and then like that kind of like that excitement you get when you buy a cool thing, and then like the remorse after, and how it's like these things are supposed to like give us meaning, but like they don't really, and just kind of agonizing with like technological like distress as well. Like the idea of like, yeah, I'm like yeah, I'm gonna use this Uber, but like I don't really think about like this guy's life when he's not driving me around.
Yeah.
You know, like I'm gonna like torrent this movie and just delete it after. You know,
That's
like,
right.
it's like
Yeah,
this
you
kind of
write
like
that.
disdain for all objects. You know, it's like this. It's this. I love the mood of this song. I love it.
It's quite a juxtaposition from what we were talking about earlier in some of the songs from earlier, where you're kind of flexing a materialistic muscle.
Yeah.
About things
Yeah,
signifying
I love
wealth.
shit. I love buying
Yeah, I do
shit.
too, I think.
That's the problem.
I have to admit it.
I love
do.
it, but I know it's bad.
Yeah.
I'm trying like to reconcile that with
So this is
song.
the reconciliation to that a little bit. You also said that, wasn't there some allusion to that wedding you performed?
Yeah, where I'm like, been in Topanga, because the wedding was in Topanga
Right,
Canyon.
right.
Been in Topanga. I hosted a wedding. I fell off a cliff taking selfies.
That's right. Right.
Which is true. I actually was like, wow, this is such a great view. Let me use my phone.
Did you really fall off the cliff?
I started sliding down the cliff and like I grabbed and I had to.
People die doing this stuff.
All the time, yeah. And it's like I almost died, probably. Like it was really far down, you know? Would have ruined their wedding.
At the very least, it would have ruined their wedding. It would have been a bad situation. It's true. Technology is kind of all this stuff is kind of killing us, isn't it?
Yeah, but in that case, it was like such a metaphor to me. It was like, wow, I literally almost killed myself because of my fucking phone. You know, and it's like that's how I feel with so many different things. And like in this like bridge part in the song, you know, like I'm talking about my girlfriend. She likes to buy me flowers, and stuff, and it's still buying something.
Yeah.
It's like this like emotional like nice gesture, but it still requires like commerce.
Yeah.
You know, and I'm talking about like, you know, how we're trying to like find our way in like this new city and you know, trying to like make the most of it, but then there's like I'm still like, and then I'm back in the line. You know, I'm like I wait in line. In Toronto, it's like people are obsessed with waiting in line for stuff. Like different, like, oh yeah, it's like this new shoe came out. So there's like 800 people in line, and like I'm like, I need the shoe. I need to have the same shoe.
Yeah.
You know, so it's like kind of like, you know, I love that saying like it isn't productive.
Because
I'm talking about products. It isn't productive.
There's some heavy stuff going on this record. I appreciate that. Okay. Well, are we able to get to the end here?
Yeah, let's rock out.
You mentioned that you have a thing about after parties. You're slightly scarred, I think, by after parties. We're going to move on to the final song on the record. It's called "The After Party," produced by Double Dutch.
Yeah, I think it's at the stairwell. No, don't worry, man. When we get up there, just let me do the talking. I got the +1, you know, don't worry. Tried my best to be good and true, misbehaved just a little bit. Finally made it to the venue. Can you see my name on the list? Know the guy who runs the place. Talk to him almost every day. Doubt he hears a fucking word I say. Throw him, man, bitch, get out the way. Where we going, there's no after party. No more turning up until the sunlight. End credits, ain't no introspection. Ain't no resolution till the star wipe. Superstition, all the prayers and wishes. It ain't doing nothing for your real life. Politicians talk about religion, but nobody knowing what it feels like. When you're getting strapped in the ambulance, it don't matter when the rent's due. Spend your life fronting on a gram, but you can't take them likes with you. Could be president or destitute, executive or up for execution. You could be elected, you could be arrested. You could live your life and never learn the truth. No going in and out, okay. If you leave to go smoke, you gotta stay okay. Kinda like paradise, okay. Upstairs, just follow the light, okay. But there's a club downtown, okay. It's hot, but it's real underground, okay. And it never shuts down, okay. In the room, there's a big smoke cloud, okay. But all I want is more time. Balling out with my kinfolk. Got me up all night. Stand in line for the limbo. Lord, I'm trying to get high. Till my heartbeat is the tempo. Trying to have the time of my life. But they won't let me inside.
I made a note here, depressing.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like, it could be perceived as depressing, but I think it's, I felt like it was like learning about myself a lot. You know, the song it's a metaphor, right?
Yeah.
Where the after party, I'm talking about like the big after party in the sky, basically.
Oh, I see.
Right?
Yeah.
And so, and it's talking about like, you know, all my life it's been about being on the list. You know, it's like, will I be on the final? list.
Right. Oh.
St. Peter, you know?
I didn't clue into that. I just
Yeah.
thought it was another club metaphor.
No. And it's like the clubs like I'm talking about in the bridge. It's like no going in and out, okay?
Right.
If you leave to go smoke, you got to stay, okay?
Right.
Limbo, right? Kind of like Paradise, Paradise Garage, but it's Paradise. Upstairs, just follow the light, okay?
Okay, I get it now.
But there's a club downtown, okay? It's hot, but it's real underground, okay? And it never shuts down, okay? In the room, there's a big smoke cloud, okay? Right?
That's weird. Like, that's what clubs are like, though.
Yeah, exactly.
Heavenly, hellish.
There's some nice ones and there's some bad ones.
Yeah,
And it's like,
that's fascinating.
I don't know. I feel like, obviously, like
Didn't even clue in.
Yeah, I mean, it's like it isn't like super obvious because like in the verses, I talk about like just where we're going. There's no after party. That's the theme. It's like there's like there's no end credits. It's not a tidy conclusion. Like it's like possibly nothing happens.
Yeah, but there's like this thing with clubs where if you're somebody, they'll let you in.
Yeah,
and you're reasserting yourself as Cadence Weapon. There's this sense that you've been forgotten by this song.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And by the end of the record, you're back to that feeling of like, I need to remind people who I am. And that's fascinating
like
to me,
in this case, it would be God.
Yeah, I didn't...
Yeah.
Are you generally a spiritual, religious person?
No, but it's like I'm very like... I'm spiritual, but like not for a specific thing.
Yes.
Like I believe that, I feel like there's just too many things that are like insane coincidence for it to have not been made by somebody.
Sure.
But I mean, that could just be my stupid human mind.
No.
Figuring it out.
I think we look for meaning in a sometimes meaningless life, where or a nonsensical life. We're trying to find meaning here and there.
And like in the last verse, I actually talk about the planet Earth that we live on, and I feel like a lot of people. They don't, there's this sense of, especially with like Trump, I'm really talking about Trump a lot in this verse. This is like my like kind of end of the world verse.
Yeah.
Where it's like everybody wants to tear the club up, but when it's fucked up, they don't have insurance.
Right.
Like it's like everybody wants to like destroy this planet. They treat the planet like a rental car.
Yes.
Acting like it isn't where we are. Nihilism is the life we're living. Make you want to take a flight to Mars. It's like, we're going to just like totally destroy this planet and just hope that we can populate somewhere else and do the same thing.
Well, it seems to be what's happening.
Yeah. And it's like talks about, I'm kind of talking about like almost like the like, all lives matter people. But I end with like a lot of optimism. This is like maybe to me is one of the most important lines on the album. It's one of my favorite lines. It's like, could be the end of an empire, could be the start of a new age. All of my people are inspired. All of my people are enraged. And that's like exactly how I feel about like everyone, like life right now.
Yeah.
Is that like everyone's like super pissed off by like the way things are going, but I feel like I've never seen as much engagement.
It's true. People are aware of things more, and that's why they're pissed off.
Yeah, and it's like it's like a glass half full or half empty way of seeing things. Like this could be like the end of like an empire that's been in charge for a long time of the world.
Yeah.
Or it could be like the start of like a new, better time, you know, which is what we're seeing with like a lot of like the Weinstein stuff too. Like, I think this is finally the way of getting rid of the old guard.
Yeah.
It's like, this could be it.
The old guard and the old philosophies, I think.
Old ways of doing things.
Yeah.
It's like a real sea change.
Well, that's another remarkable song, and I thank you, Rolly, for going through the whole thing with me. It's unbelievable. I found this very insightful, and I'm glad you're in a good place.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I definitely wanted to, and I want to give a shout out to Chris Moncada at the label. E1.
Yeah.
Because he gave me some great advice just of, like, you're good at rapping and for rapping's sake, but, it's good to rap about something.
Yeah.
It's like sometimes it's easy to like lose sight of that because it's very fun to rap about nothing.
I feel like you've always rapped about something. I mean, but this does seem more purposeful, if that's what you mean.
Yeah, that's mainly what I mean.
Yeah. Okay, where can people learn more about Cadence Weapon and the record Cadence Weapon?
Well, you can hit me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Cadence Weapon, at Cadence Weapon.
Okay.
All the info for everything will be there. I'm going to be playing a bunch of shows. I'm going to be back out there. And please say hi. And, I want to hear what people think of the album because not having an album out for so long and not being able to have, the reflection of the audience, telling you what they think, it's been like I've been in stasis.
Yeah,
So
totally.
I'm very excited to hear what people think.
Well, I if it's for what it's worth, I think they're going to love it.
Great.
That's how I feel, and I want that to spread.
You got me hyped.
Is there a particular song we can go out on from this record that something we can play for people?
Yeah, I would probably say, Infinity Pool. I think
Really?
Infinity Pool is my favorite.
Okay.
I think it is my favorite song on the album.
Okay.
I mean, it's like such a vibe.
No, it's fine. I know that there's some more assertive songs towards the top of the record. Infinity Pool is a great song. I think that's a good choice.
Cool.
All right. This is Infinity Pool by Cadence Weapon. Rolly, thank you so much for being on this show. Happy New Year and best of luck with everything going forward.
Yeah, and thanks for all the support over the years.
Sedative in me for negative energy. All my amenities cool. No more rigidity. Need my serenity. Live in infinity pool. Secret identity who? No, I don't think you should know. Said that she's knowing my face like memory foam. All in my pillow at home. I said nice to know you. No crossing the border. She's sweeter than cinnamon, girl. Been in Topanga, I hosted a wedding. I fell off a cliff taking selfies. Nearly fell down some stories for my story. Recorded some shit that ain't important. All of these flights are remaining in orbit, and all of the prices stay exorbitant. Returning for tour, I'm treating this shit like it's war. Settling scores, rental van look like a tank. I'm out here going for broke, used to be poor. Now I spend cash on couture, happily breaking the bank. Jacket Azure, cop that thing back at the store. Don't know what this shit is for.
Tell me about your name and the days you were alone. Bending on your love even when you hear it slow. Tell me about your name and the days you were alone.
She buys me flowers. She ambles out the door until it's closing time. Every day that summer it was sun showers. I tried to light the home fires in the night. Burning bright, I made my living after hours. Coming home way past the time that she retired. For the night, I love the life that we've inspired. If we lose direction, just look for the tower. Glowing lights, glowing lights.
I'm back in the line, wasting my time, hoping to bolster my pride. It isn't productive, I'm waiting for something, I'm going right out of my mind. Copping some shit to define what I've been hoping to find. Scared that there ain't nothing there, buyer beware, hoping my car gets declined. Used to go walking for miles, now I catch rides from some guy, trying to provide, hoping his family alright. Play with my phone in the quiet, the food just arrived, the tour incomplete. When we get finished, I'm pressing delete, play on repeat, feeling swept up in the stream, hoping to get some relief.
Tell me about your name and the days you were alone. Bending on your love even when you hear it slow. Tell me about your name and the days you were alone. Something about your name and the way that you just know. Good love.
Special thanks to Cadence Weapon, a.k.a. Rolly Pemberton, for being on this, the 375th episode of Creative Control, which is part of the Entertainment One podcast network and available on all your finer podcast platforms. If you can't find an episode you're looking for, or you want to learn more about me and sign up for my regularly scheduled newsletter, please visit vishkhanna.com. You can like Creative Control on Facebook, follow us on Twitter at vishcreative, or follow me at vishkhanna, and listen to a radio show version of Creative Control on Wednesdays at noon Eastern Standard Time around the world at cfru.ca or on an actual radio at 93.3 FM if you're in or near Guelph. Also, please consider visiting patreon.com/Creative Control to make a flexible monthly donation to keep this podcast going. I'd like to thank my sponsors once again. I mentioned them at the top of the show. Pizza Trocadero, The Bookshelf, Planet Bean Coffee, Granddad's Donuts. All those people, thank you so much. Thanks to you for listening to the show and continuing to listen to the show and download episodes and subscribing to the show, telling your friends about the show, rating and reviewing the show. All those things are deeply kind of you, and they help the show. So spread the word about Creative Control, and I'll keep making this show for just as long as is humanly possible. Thank you once again for listening to this one. I will talk to you very soon. Goodbye for now.